Welcome, my friends, to Charting Cryptos and Commodities. Have a lot of stuff to share with you today. Let's jump into these charts. We'll start off with the Bitcoin 24-hour chart. And what do we see here? Well, Bitcoin, again, I call this good news. Why? Because since we hit the lowest low back in June, mid-June, we have seen things, again, sort of slide, going up a little bit for 4 weeks, but really just a consistent sideways slide. Now, and as we look at the candlesticks, the surging has slowed down a little bit. So far this week, just really a doji. Have we reached the bottom? Is this the bottom that we keep waiting for, hoping for? I don't know. We're not, crazy far away from the 200 EMA. If we can see some strong, consistent up movements, I'd like to see big green up candles, no wicks on the bottom, moving up and penetrating the 200 exponential moving average. We would, of course, expect to see what? The rest of the crypto market recovering. Is that going to happen anytime soon? I can't possibly tell you that. I don't think anybody can tell you that. There's just too many other factors. War, famine, you name it, inflation, just throw it all in there. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow in the world? But we're not seeing things just trash out and move significantly lower, which is good. We look at Ethereum, where is it? Well, same kind of thing. It hasn't reached the lows that it reached back on June 13, that beginning week there. We did see, again, like Bitcoin, went up for a few weeks and then sideways and down. So again, hopefully, it did just slide a few weeks ago back underneath the 200 EMA. That's okay. We just want to see things bottom out and then start gaining some momentum. Don't know when it's going to do that, but we continue to watch it so we're ready when it does. We look at the overall crypto market. This is that 10 crypto index weighted by market share. You can see the same kind of thing. You can see where things bottomed out on the week beginning July the 5th, and then moved up for a few weeks, and again, just sort of sideways. Lots of indecision, dojis galore the last 3 weeks. So we'll keep an eye on things as they move along as we sort of go through the crypto market. Again, you can see sort of similar patterns. You can see here with Polkadot where, it bumped up. And again, all these tend to follow what? Well, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the tide that floats all these boats. As we look at them, a lot of these charts look about the same. Here we are with Litecoin. Here we are with the Matic Network. Again, it bottomed out, went up, and again has been sliding sideways. We don't have a 200 EMA because we don't have a long enough tracking. Again, we look at Doge, same kind of thing, looks similar to Ethereum and Bitcoin. Oh gosh, we look at XRP. Again, you can see where it bottomed out, moved up, and then of course over the course of this week down 2% just on the day. But again, as we go through these various coins again and you look at them, the pattern is not surprising. So what are we waiting for? We're waiting for the big boy to turn around. And when that happens, we'll see it, we'll know it, we'll hear about it, but ain't nothing happening right now. Now let's switch over and take a look at commodities. Now I always rate the commodities for review based upon just how they've done for the day. We see copper up 2.50% for the day. What does it mean for the week, though? Nothing much. We see almost a doji, did have a doji the last 2 weeks. Copper just hanging out below its 200 EMA. Now, what does copper have to do with anything? Well, it's an industrial metal. Shows us sort of what's going on in manufacturing. Well, we'll just say it's not flying. How about that? Below its 200 EMA. And a lot of indecision, a lot of, I don't know, could you say fear? We'll see. What about wheat? Okay, people eat wheat. We've been tracking this wheat move for a while. and we're about to stop tracking it. Look at what it's done for the week. Now you might say, well, don't people have to eat? Yeah, if they can afford wheat, if they have money to buy it, and if they don't, what happens when your supply starts stacking up? The price goes down. Sort of scary, isn't it? Perhaps. Let's look at where we are with soybean. Again, with soybean, we saw it tracking up over several weeks. Down for 4 weeks ago, started going down. Last week, a green spinning top. This week, we got a red hammer. So again, most all that movement down. So as we look at the way the world economy is going, I think we can read some things from looking at these commodities. Where's silver? Below the 200 EM8. Not a great week for silver. We'll just keep watching. Of course, let's look at corn. A lot of things eat corn. Animals and people. What do we see there? Well, corn tracked up for many, many weeks. This week, a doji. Maybe it's going to gather some momentum over the next few weeks, or maybe it's just dying on the vine. We saw it switch over from red to green. And again, it took it a while because there was so much strong down movement. And when it finally started to switch over, things started dying on the vine. So we'll keep an eye on that. We look at the different Rogers commodity funds. This one is the Total Energy Fund. Look at how precipitously it dropped this week. The Rogers Structured Product Commodities, International Commodities Fund, again, dropping off this week. This is an interesting one. Gasoline. We saw gasoline for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And then 3 weeks ago, bounded up. The next week, not as high. This week, we got a green spinning top. We just sort of see things languishing, still in the red on the STC. So where are things going? Well, not anywhere right yet. Up a little bit for the day on Thursday, 0.12%. So, again, if you don't have money in the economies of the world to spend on things like gasoline and the supply stacks up, supply and demand, right? And if you don't have the demand, the supply goes up and the price consequently goes down. That's just economics 101. So try to read into things and understand what these commodities are telling you. What about the Rogers Total Agricultural Fund? You can see where it had popped up for 4 weeks and then just sort of started sliding sideways, dropping and sideways. So again, something going on in the world. When we look at oil, those 2 prior weeks, like we saw with gas popping up, and then this week, oil blowing off. Now you hear on the news, oh, the Saudis are backing down on what they're going to be producing. But as far as this week goes, things aren't ramping up as far as price. I mean, we looked at gasoline just a minute ago. We're looking at oil right now. Again, not necessarily what you're hearing in the news. What do we see as far as the metals fund goes? This is a Rogers Metal Fund. You see, of course, metals have burned off energy. Things like copper, things like silver, gold, all those different metals used both in, primarily in industry. Again, you see them just languishing, not jacking up. Of course, we cover gold for you every day, gold heading down. What about coffee? Check out the price of coffee. I mean, it had, in August just started ramping up, hit its peak August the 22nd, down, and boy, just a hammering down over the last couple of weeks. That tells us something. What about natural gas? I've heard all those stories about winter's coming, natural gas is going to go through the roof. Not according to this. I guess if you can't afford natural gas, or you don't have the ability to get it to market, then what happens to the price? Well, price has really been moving down for many weeks now. Isn't that interesting compared to what you hear in the news and what you're led to believe? Isn't price action so much more interesting than the spin, than the propaganda, than whatever it might be that you're hearing in the news? Now, sugar, over the last 3 weeks, we can see where the price of sugar, it is above its 200 EMA. It has moved up some this week, backtracking a little bit. So again, interesting watching these commodity markets. I encourage you to pay attention. And again, when you find something interesting to trade, always backtrack it. Again, use what we teach you. Use the always winning method. Use the wave technique. Practice trade all these things to see if indeed there's something interesting that you can track, that you want to track, and it works for you. We always love to hear from you, friends. Don't hesitate to reach out to us, cw@chartingwealth.com. Let me know what you think about what we are covering for you here on charting commodities and cryptocurrencies. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.